One, two. Okay, how's it going, man?
Hi, going great.
Awesome.
Great. Been looking forward to it.
Yeah, I know, man. It's finally, we get a chance to finally talk now.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's funny as much as we cut up and carry on online. It's good to finally sit down and talk about some paranormal.
I totally agree, because it's almost like on Facebook, we just steal each other's kind of funny stuff we post, like all the memes and stuff like that. So finally we get to sit down and talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. So at least I know I'm not the only twisted person out there. So
hell
that
no,
makes me
man.
feel better.
No, not at all. Not at all, man. Okay, let's go and get to it. Okay, so you live in Alabama, correct?
That is correct. And yeah, just right outside of Birmingham. I'm grew up here, ended up leaving the state, and then as soon as I got grown up, and somehow ended up back here. I'm not sure how that happened, but it seemed to happen. Got lost somewhere, but here I am.
Right on, man. How far are you away from Carbon Hill?
I'm probably about maybe an hour away.
Okay, because that's where my dad's side of the family is from.
Oh, okay. So yeah, probably about an hour away. I'm where I am is just I'm about 2 counties over. So
okay.
Yeah, actually have done a couple of investigations out near that area, and so a lot of crazy stuff that goes on out in the Walker County area up there.
Didn't you tell me you had some sort of Sasquatch story?
Well, I know there have been a lot of sightings up there. Out around Carbon Hill, Jasper, up there in the Sipsey Wilderness,
Okay.
Bankhead Forest. They I know there are a lot of people out in that area that of course there's all kinds of cryptid sightings out there, and
gotcha.
you never know when it comes to Walker County if if it's a legitimate sighting or some bad moonshine, but that's a whole different story. So that
yeah, blame it on the hooch,
because
man.
Sometimes right, sometimes they don't pull off early enough, and a little bit too much methane goes in the batch, but that's a whole different story, and I'm not going to comment on how I know about that. But I read about it in a book, so
Gotcha.
That's my story.
Okay.
So as soon as I learned to read, I'll read about it.
Okay. Right on, man. Okay, so so how long have you been into the paranormal and all that?
Well, I've always been interested in it. I mean, going back all the way to second grade. I can remember, all the other kids were reading stuff like Clifford the Big Red Dog and all these other books, and I was sneaking in the scary stories to tell in the dark, and like the UFOs and unexplained mysteries and stuff like that, and I was always fascinated with it. But when I became a teenager, I started really reading, doing research into it, wondering how it works. I was always fascinated with science, and my thing of it was not so much the mystical side of it, but more or less, my thinking was, wait, science can't explain this, so this is fascinating.
Right.
And but in 1999, when I was 21, was when I did my first actual investigation, and I've been actively doing investigations and or research ever since. So
Okay.
I guess about 21 years.
Okay, awesome. So like when you kind of got into it, I mean, was it like, did you do ghost hunting, or like did you do it just for fun, or how long did it kind of take for you to get into the whole investigating in a scientific way, like maybe as a skeptic and stuff like that?
Well, it started out kind of as a hobby, kind of just mostly just curiosity. Like I say, when I actually decided, I'm going to get out and actually investigate instead of just reading about it. I was 21, didn't have a clue what I was doing. And you have to keep in mind during this time, there were no shows on TV hardly. There was
Right.
it wasn't like a big popular subject like it is now. It was, a whole different thing than the culture now.
Right.
And the equipment was scarce, we but I just wanted to get out and just see and try it out. And um it so that was I just want to kind of see what happened. And I remember my first investigation, as I, if you could call it that. It kind of an interesting experience, to say the least.
Right.
I got out and I came away with an interesting experience. And it just drove me to it, and I wanted to do more. And it's like the more I learned, the more I saw, okay, this stuff that they're showing here, that this is nonsense. This
Right.
is nonsense. There might be something to this. And it just kind of, over time I started to formulate what seemed to make sense and what didn't.
Right.
And 21 years later, here I am.
Okay. So like as of like now, I mean, do you lean more towards the skeptic side, or you know?
Um, I like to call myself a skeptical believer.
Right. Okay.
The the reason I say that is, as long as people have been writing things down, they've been writing down accounts of similar experiences.
Right.
And so to say that nothing paranormal happens
Hmm.
would be foolish.
Right.
That there absolutely is the paranormal. That the the big thing is understanding it, and understanding it's not a matter of are these things happening. It's a matter of what is it.
Right.
A lot of times we like to say specifically, oh, this is ghost, this is this particular type of ghost, this is demons. We'd like to put a set definition on it. And if it was that simple, then guess what? It wouldn't be paranormal.
Correct. Very so.
Because we would would be able to explain it.
Right.
But so what kind of the approach I have is maybe stepping back further and saying, okay, this may be how we interpret it or what we think is going on, but
Right.
really, what is it? Is it environmental? Is it in our mind? Is it our mind projecting into the environment? What, are there multiple factors combining? But, trying to stay open-minded, not being
Right.
confined to any particular belief, like, no, it's not real, or yes, it's absolutely ghost, or it's absolutely this. It's, trying to follow where the evidence leads.
Right. So okay, so when you mention the word evidence, do you ever separate the definition I'm sorry, the definition of evidence compared to, let's say, calling it a finding, let's just say, because sometimes you can't really prove certain things. And so, I mean, so is there times you say, well, I can't prove it. So would you rather call it a finding, or, because Because I've had that in multiple discussions all the time with a lot of people.
Right. I'm very careful with the word evidence
Right.
because I prefer to use the term data
Okay.
because that I may have a recording of something moving on its own, and that and I would call it data because if I can explain what is causing, when I go through my process of
Okay.
trying to rule out every possible cause of whatever is moving that object, and I can't find it. There's no wind, there's no, the surface is level, there's no outside force that I could potentially see enacting on it. After all of that, I still don't have an explanation. So it's not really evidence of anything, but it is data that suggests there's an unknown variable.
Gotcha.
And whereas, ironically, the way that I look at it anyway, is say I found it was a metal object and there was a magnetic source nearby, I could say, well, this is evidence of a magnetic interaction here causing.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So that's I kind of think a little differently than most people on that stuff, but I try to I try to look at it as being my own harshest skeptic,
right?
Because nobody out there is going to, when you present findings that you have to a skeptic audience, they're not going to be kind. And it's better if you try to find as many flaws as you can ahead of time.
Very good point. Real good point. Okay, so
that's why I say that your best ally sometimes can be a hard skeptic.
Correct.
And it may not be for anything other than the purpose of trying to find any flaws in your logic or in your approach.
Okay. Great point, man. So have you, besides, because sometimes when we use the word paranormal, it doesn't necessarily mean ghost. Okay, so have you kind of dabbled in crypto and UFOs and stuff like that?
I haven't very much. I'm fascinated by it. But mostly what I've stuck with has been more toward what people would consider ghost. My biggest fascination has been more with ESP, telekinesis, things of that nature.
Right.
And I think that's part of the reason that ghost fascinated me so much, is because some people, how many times have you heard those accounts of several people being in the same room? One person A sees a ghost, person A doesn't, person C will see a full-bodied apparition, and person D sees just a fine mist. And in the years that I've been hearing all these accounts of different sightings and things like that, the only thing that it suggests is a big part of these paranormal experiences relies on our personal abilities, our abilities that we have to perceive them. So if that's the case, then to understand what's out there, we've got to first look at us.
Right.
So that's kind of what got me more into looking at psychology and neuroscience that's why currently I'm going to school for neuropsychology, is
Okay.
to better understand
I gotcha.
what's going on.
Okay. Really cool, man. Um, so you were a part of a team called Casper, correct? Or is that did I pronounce
That's
that?
correct.
Did I do that? Did I pronounce that right? Because I
You
know it's
you
it's
did.
a because I know it stands for something. I mean, so
It it does. It actually stands for Central Alabama Society for Paranormal Investigation and Research.
okay.
But none of us are smart enough to write all of that down without misspelling something. So we just called it Casper.
Okay.
And with it being say CASPIR, people say, isn't it supposed to be CASPER, and they still accuse us of misspelling something. So
Right.
it still doesn't work out very well. But yeah, we founded it back in 2013, and
Okay.
it's we haven't been active in about a year and a half, 2 years, but we've kind of shifted more away from the investigations, of course, with everything going on with the pandemic. That
Right.
a lot of teams aren't able to
Yeah.
do that.
I know we kind of
And
had to
we've
go.
had
Yeah.
we've been focusing. I've kind of shifted most of my attention more toward the noetic sciences research side of things, and really, I mean, that's my baby. That's
Okay.
what I really love doing.
And you founded that with Kat Hobson, correct?
That is correct. Kat has me and Kat started working together on different paranormal projects about in 2014, and
Okay.
we've done radio shows, we've done investigations, we've done research. She's one of the members of Casper. She's
Oh, okay.
co-founded that with me, and I
Oh, okay.
mean, yeah, that and it's kind of funny the way that me and her work. She is extremely intuitive,
Hmm.
and I claim to have the intuitive abilities of a doorknob, but I'm we balance each other out very well, because a lot of times we'll approach a situation, and we may walk in the front door, and I'll go left, she'll go right, but somehow we taking these completely different approaches, we always meet in the middle and compare notes. And it's definitely not one of those kumbaya, let's agree on everything type of
Right.
partnerships, but me and her work extremely well together, because even though there's a lot of debate, and we love when we could get in one of those debates, and
Right.
try to get each other, and pretty much poke each other with the stick. But
Right.
and usually she ends up getting the best of me. I'll go ahead and admit that. But it works out really well, because we kind of keep each other on their toes by doing that.
Okay. Okay. So you also had a show called Paranormal Loudies, and I hope I didn't butcher it. And Ponderings? I almost guarantee I butchered it.
I did. Yeah, there for about 4 years. I hosted a radio show called Paranormalities and Ponderings,
Okay.
and that had a lot of fun doing that. I was I did that on a couple of the show changed networks a couple of times, but kept going. We it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot in the process of it. Got to interview a lot of people.
Okay.
That it the I think something I enjoyed most about it was I mean I got to talk to some of the well-known people. The there were some of the people that you see on TV, all the time.
Okay.
Dr. Barry Taff, Floyd Arbach,
Oh, gotcha.
some of the some of the big researchers, but I was also presented with the opportunity, and one of my favorite things was finding people that I would meet and investigate with, or maybe talk to, that were doing just amazing things,
Right.
and nobody really knew about them, and I was able to say, hey, because I had a good sized audience, and I was able to say,
Okay.
hey, look, you need to hear what this person's saying. This is amazing work they're doing, and help them get out there a little bit,
Right.
you learn so much that way.
That's totally true. I mean, I've done that in the past as well. I mean, so you had another show called Controlled Chaos.
Yes, that was with the co-founder of Casper, Donald
Okay.
Davis. Me and
Oh, gotcha.
him, actually, yeah, we did we did, it was a video show there for a while,
Oh,
and
gotcha.
it was a lot of fun. We tried to do was, instead of radio, we moved toward being able to show people what we were doing, and we would
Okay.
try to show experiments, and like there was one episode where I showed people how to convert a camera to from like a little small mini camera to full spectrum, and
Oh, wow.
like I showed us doing like a Gansfeld experiment, and we did different things like that, so that we tried to be educational, but
Hmm.
me and him were both goofballs at heart, and so we definitely had quite a bit of chaos with it. So the name was not false advertising at all.
That's kind of like the title kind of grabbed my attention, so that's why I wanted to ask about it. Kind of like,
Yeah,
what
it
was the motivation
was.
behind that one?
Yeah, it was a little bit of learning and a lot of shenanigans.
Ain't
It's the
nothing wrong
best
with
way that
that.
I could put it. I mean, yeah, and that was pretty much any time that me and him were in the same room.
Okay. So like, okay, let's go ahead and get on this subject. Paranormal TV shows. What do you think about
I have so many mixed emotions about
them? Right.
them. I I think that in some ways that they're a necessary evil,
Hmm.
but um, I mean they're good in the aspect of, they have brought paranormal research into the mainstream. They have
Hmm.
some towns, for instance, if you look at the city of Savannah, Georgia.
Hmm.
Savannah, Georgia used to be that there for a while. It was terrible. And through different paranormal TV shows highlighting some of the reportedly haunted places there, tourism picked up in the
Oh,
historic part
okay.
of Savannah, Georgia, so much so that they were able to revitalize the whole downtown area. And now it's one of the most um, the most visited cities in the country. We've seen that happen in several other places as well.
Right.
So it can have a positive impact. It has made people more comfortable with sharing their experiences. It's not so much of a taboo subject anymore. And that's good. that. So there are definitely some positives. Really, most of the negatives are, of course, if you find a paranormal TV show that doesn't embellish like crazy, then you probably are watching a home movie. You're not
Right.
watching a TV show,
Right.
at least not on any network. And that's I've been I've been approached several times over the years by producers. That has been kind of the biggest argument, and kind of the point where we butted heads, and what where the line was drawn was,
Right.
and the way that everything was presented and keeping things authentic. And the biggest thing about TV shows is, and you have to remember, it just because it says it's reality, just because they say it's authentic, if it is on TV, it is there for entertainment. It is there it would not be on TV if it was not there for the purpose of drawing ratings.
Correct.
And that is first and foremost. Ratings are drawing enough ratings to sell advertising slots is the purpose of any show on TV, period. And you have to remember that is the first and foremost purpose of it. So, but it is good for drumming up interest. But I'm going to say, before you take any information to heart, get it from an academic journal and not from a TV show.
Correct.
The same as I wouldn't take medical advice from watching the first 48 or something like that either.
Correct. Right. Okay, so like ghost hunting teams today, is there like certain things like, and I kind of want to go the direction of, like, say, social media, and we all know how social media works and how, I think, bad it can be sometimes. What do you see wrong with something like, and I'm not trying to say nothing negative, I'm not going to bash nobody or anything in that manner, but do you see things that are wrong with like some ghost hunting teams, or that post things on social media, that, do you think it's just all for attention, or do you think it's like maybe they're not trying to learn more, or anything in that manner?
I mean, there is a whole laundry list of things that I could point out, but I think really what it boils down to is, be clear about your intentions as a team, and just be honest. Be honest with your followers. Be honest with your clients.
Right.
If this is a hobby for you,
Right,
that's fine. But you need to be honest about that,
right,
and you don't need to present yourself as something that you're not. You know there is no shame if someone calls you in a case that you probably shouldn't be handling. Then there is no shame in referring it to a more experienced team, or a team that specializes in it.
right.
I've been I've been researching for 21 years.
Right.
If somebody calls me in some situations, I'll be the first to call someone else and say, well, I'm really not the person that's not really my lane.
Right.
Let me get somebody that can help you better than I can. And people will respect you a whole lot more for your honesty than for bravado.
And I think I've been in that same
And, you
situation.
know,
Yeah. I mean, like, for example, it's kind of
mhm,
like people ask me about psychics and stuff like that. And I'm like, the experience that I do, like, because I'm more like, when I say, for example, like you just mentioned a while ago about ghost hunting as a hobby, which I'm totally fine with. And that's really cool because, people pay their money to go to locations and just,
mhm.
if you do it for fun, that's awesome. Because I mean, I've done it for fun. I've done it, to where,
Mhm.
and that's really cool because I mean, we all need some sort of way to, get away from life itself, but kind of like when it came down
Oh
to
yeah.
residential investigations that I got into years ago, like people ask me about, well, I need a psychic. Well, I need a priest. Well, I need, and I'm like, that's not the direction I go. I'm more towards when I
Right.
call myself a paranormal investigator, I'm there to investigate the claims, to where I use more critical thinking, skepticism, and you're there to find natural explanations. So I'm like you just said, and I'm totally in agreement with that. To where, okay, well, I might know somebody. Well, maybe I can lead you to this person, you know, because that's not, that is not in my realm, let's just say.
Right. And yeah, like you said, I mean, there is absolutely nothing wrong with being a hobbyist.
Right.
That's great. It's a fun hobby,
Mm-hmm.
and I encourage anybody to do it.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm gonna say is, if you are a hobbyist, just do some research before you spend your money on some of that stuff that you buy.
Uh,
It's you know don't don't fall into the to some of those traps, but enjoy it.
right.
But yeah, definitely be honest with yourself about your intentions,
Right.
and what you're prepared to handle. Something that sticks out. I've had cases that, um, one that really sticks out to me is one case that we handled. There was an elderly lady that she had had a couple of teams that she had contacted, tell her she had evil spirits in the house, and she needed an exorcism, all of this stuff. Um, and come to find out, the problem was, she felt like she was being strangled at night, like she couldn't breathe. She was hearing
Right.
knocking in the walls.
Mm-hmm.
She was having hallucinations. Well, when we investigated, what we found was she had a rat infestation. The And there was black mold growing in the walls of the apartment, and the black mold. And I mean, she was in her late 60s, and she was not in very good health. She had poor eyesight, and her hearing wasn't that well. So, it was easy to see how she wasn't aware of just how bad her environment was. But we helped her, get some paperwork and a petition in front of her landlord to get her transferred to a different apartment. Well, after that, and after she got transferred, her health improved dramatically, and suddenly there was no more activity.
Right.
And it was because the environmental conditions, something that happens, black mold, of course, can cause permanent damage, but it will cause you to feel like you're being suffocated.
Right.
Even it can even have hallucinogenic side effects
Mm-hmm.
with prolonged exposure. And it was the rat infestation was the knocking that she was hearing, and
Oh,
the
wow.
scurrying. And how there were a couple of other teams that went in, and they were telling her that they completely ignored the environment, didn't even
Yeah.
think to look at what are normal causes for this before they went paranormal.
Right.
And I had another situation. we had somebody, this person had 3 different teams go in. All of them said, the only thing you can do, this place must be cursed, or it's got evil spirits. You've got to have an exorcism. One of them tried an exorcism, didn't work, nothing improved the situation.
Right.
And this man had been told that he was going to have to move, and that was the only chance he had.
Right.
And he was about ready to sell his family home. We went in there, and we found one thing was there was a high level of carbon monoxide, which can cause some shortness of breath, of course, and that,
right.
Luckily it hadn't got to a very dangerous level yet.
Right.
But it was enough for concern.
Yeah.
There was an old alarm system in the home that, and old alarm systems can be, a terrible cause of EMF radiation.
Right.
EMF exposure at certain levels can have hallucinogenic side effects.
Very correct.
Same thing, if you sleep. Yeah, same thing if you sleep too close to a Wi-Fi router or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the main source of their haunting, the apparitions they were seeing and things like that, the anxiety, stuff like that, was their fish aquarium.
Okay.
The fish aquarium, the little square pump,
Mm-hmm.
It was sitting on a little wooden table. A piece of the felt had, instead of being on a stand, it was sitting on top of a dresser. Some of the some of the felt had worn off of the bottom of it. It's kind of it was sitting kind of butted up against the wall and on this wooden table. And as the air filter was running, or the air pump was running, it was vibrating against the wall on this wooden table at a frequency right around 19 hertz.
Okay.
If you ever look up the fear frequency, it's 18.87 hertz.
Oh, okay.
This is a infrasound frequency. Most people can't audibly hear it. Most adults can anyway, because our hearing range is around 20.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're exposed to that frequency, it can induce a sense of panic, a sense of being watched.
Very true.
That happens to also, it happens to also be the same resonant frequency that our eyeballs vibrate at. So it can cause hallucinations. And anyway, we stopped, we put a little cloth under his air pump for his fish aquarium, and disconnected the motion detectors that weren't used anymore. And he got his carbon monoxide levels fixed, and suddenly the home was no longer haunted. So,
I've been in those situations before as well.
But it's like I say, every time I talk to somebody, you can't say something's paranormal if you haven't ruled out everything that is normal or abnormal first.
Correct. Very true. That's why I kind of always said, there's two sides of the spectrum where you got, ghost hunter. That's why I brought it up earlier. There's two sides. There's ghost hunting as a hobby, and then like what me and you just now talked about, then you got paranormal investigations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I say that a lot of people, I've seen the debate over, is there a difference in a paranormal investigator or a ghost hunter? And I say there absolutely is.
Mm-hmm.
A ghost hunter is, I think of more of a hobbyist, but a paranormal investigator is actually there to look at things like that and rule out every possible natural occurrence that could trigger an event before they even entertain the idea that it could be something paranormal. Right. And to actually find the cause of the activity versus ghost hunting being more like, well, hopefully we can see something cool, we can capture something cool. And that's fun.
And we've all been in that same boat too, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I got started. And there's nothing wrong with it.
but yeah, I mean, like we just talked about, I mean, just have you ever been in a situation where kind of like you've done an investigation and you investigated the claims and you found nothing but natural explanations, like we just talked about, you investigated your claims, collected your data, and then when you contact the client and you told them what it really was, have you ever got anybody like really upset with you because they wanted a ghost?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That I can't tell you how many times that it is more often than not. They may not be that they wanted the ghost, but even if they didn't want it, they were too upset that, you know, it's like, no, it couldn't be something that simple, blah, blah, you know. And
Yeah.
and I love the response of, you know, oh well, that's just no, that would be silly, no. And you know, it's like, well, can we try it and see what happens? And well, no.
Right.
And you can always tell how, you know, how they respond, because, you know, they you know, you go through and you eliminate every possible cause, and you know, you test it and retest it, and you know, you when you tell them that they're not happy with your findings, so you know, they get online, you know, they get on social media and, oh, this team sucks, they don't know what they're doing, blah blah blah, so they contact another team. You know, then this next team gets in there, they find something similar, that, you know, that team sucks too. Or you have the opposite, where they get that team that, you know, that the AC vent kicks on and blows a piece of paper across the room, and oh, it's demons, you got to call in every exorcist in the whole state over here. And you know, they're online, this team is amazing. You know, so
And they're done it. I mean, yeah,
not that I know this from experience.
I mean, that's almost why I kind of got out of it, you know. It was like, because I mean, I don't know if you've been in the same situation, but I mean, at the time, you know, like, let's say we did them on Saturdays. Well, hell, it's like, you know, Saturdays were overtime for me. And so a lot of times, you know, you give up at overtime and you're doing all this on your own dime. You know, you're going out there, you're doing it on your own dime. You know, you're spending on food, gas, you name it, you know. And then when you go do the investigations for them, and I'm not saying every investigation, I'm just saying a handful, let's just say. And it's almost like you go out and do this for somebody, and it's like, then you come up like you just said, you know, it's like, well, you know, like a door swinging on its own, you know, well, we put a level on it and the door's imbalanced, you know, a little bit, and wind flow, airflow can make it, you know, and then all of a sudden it's like, then, well, I can't believe, you know, blah, 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 you know, and they get all upset. Then they, like you just said, they go on social media. This guy sucks. He doesn't know what he's doing. Then all of a sudden, then the next paranormal team comes in. They call somebody else. Yep, it's your dead grandmother. Trust me. You know, it's got to be, you know, it's got to be her. You know, there's no doubt in my mind. You know, and it's like, yeah. So it's almost, it got to the point to where I was just like, you know, enough's enough. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed doing it. I really did. And I met a lot of great people in the paranormal community. And, you know, and I did enjoy doing investigations, and you know, I don't regret it, but, you know, there's just a time in your life to where, you know, you just go, man, there's just some of the chaos, you know, you just can't do no more. You know, it's like, cause, you know, like now I got a family, I've got, you know, when I started photography years ago, and now I got the podcast going, and thank you for coming on. And so now I kind of just want to take stay in the paranormal community. And I mean, because I don't want to give it up. I don't, you know, I love being a part of it. And that's why I started the podcast, because now I can kind of like eased out of the investigations part of it, you know, and So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a great hobby. It's a great thing to do. And, like even going out to location, I like, sometimes I like, you got to use the word alleged haunted location, you know, but I'm a huge history buff and I love history of the locations. So I love going to the locations just to be the history part of it.
Right.
And that's
Right.
pretty cool. That really is.
That's the same here. Of course, by default, if somebody dies somewhere, then it's automatically haunted.
Correct. Yeah. Well, been or done it, man. But yeah, totally with you on that one.
That's always one of the things that always cracked me up was that that belief, or that all cemeteries are haunted, or
Oh yeah.
I mean,
And then it's kind of when the orb phenomena came up, where people
well,
go to.
it's funny. I was talking to someone back here just a few weeks ago about orbs, and with when I first started investigating was before digital cameras were popular.
Okay.
That so used to, you go out and investigate, you take a bunch of pictures, you hope for the best, and you drop your film off, get it developed, and you go pick it up 2 days later.
Right.
Although I do remember when next day photo got popular, and that was nice, but 1 hour photo, oh man.
Right.
That was nice.
Had the little
But
Kodak booth.
it's kind of funny. When we're using the 35 millimeter cameras, we used a lot of 35 millimeter, and we used a lot of 400 exposure films. We didn't see orbs. It was very rare. But suddenly, when we brought digital cameras into the equation, we started seeing all these orbs. And then it was so strange. And it's like the more digital cameras came out there, and I definitely remember the big debates, like in the AOL groups, and like a lot of the old message boards of the arguments of how digital cameras would never be acceptable for paranormal investigations and blah.
Right.
But anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
Correct.
But that I'm kind of telling my age here. But before that, we never saw orbs. And then the more that digital cameras came out, the more orb photos you started seeing. And then the camera handbook started talking about dust halos. And it's kind of funny. They mentioned how to not get dust halos in your photos, to avoid dusty areas, to avoid places with moisture in the air, to avoid using the flash in certain situations, blah, 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 blah. And the pictures they showed look very similar to orb photos that most people submit on. I mean, it's identical. And so back in the late 90s, early 2000s, camera manufacturers themselves were telling people, look, this is how you avoid getting these photo anomalies in your pictures.
Right.
And I don't think that they had like this universal meeting of all of the dead people in the early 2000s where they said, look, we're going to drop the sheet look. We're not going for the opaque human form anymore. We're just going to appear as, translucent circles from now on. That's the ruling. Stick to it.
Right.
I mean, unless I missed something, because, but apparently, contrary to popular belief, I don't think that happened.
Right. And now it's like even me being a photographer, you know, well, actually I was doing the paranormal thing way before I became a photographer. So once I got better with photography and once I figured out, you know, how cameras really do work, you know, and people will send me a photo, say, can you explain this? And I'm like, you know, I mean, long exposure, flash fired, you know, and blah, 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 you know, and that's just what happened. Then usually 9 times out of, you kind of got half and half, really. You got somebody that is going to say, thank you for explaining it. Then you got the other half. Well, no, it can't be that. And I'm going, I'm a photographer. Trust me, that's what happened, you know? So yeah, you just, I mean, it is what it is.
And I think something that's the worst now, speaking of that, are the security cameras that people have mounted near their floodlights outside.
Right.
Because, you know, you have floodlights up and it's automatically going to attract flying insects. And, you know, you get those videos sent to you. What's this? You know, of course, you think of the focal length on a small security camera. It's not set for precision. It's set to cover a wide area. So,
correct.
You know, something 2 inches from it's going to be opaque and it's going to, you know, look strange. And, you know, it's going to be, oh, what's this weird thing moving around on the screen, you know? And
yeah. The last machine shop I worked, yeah, the last shop I worked at, like you just mentioned, you know, this older guy was super good dude, man. And he had like one of those doorbell cameras and he could record everything on his phone. And a few people there knew I was into paranormal and stuff like that. And he would, man, it was like every morning he would like run up to me and be like, hey, can you take a look at this? Like, watch this, man. Wow. I mean, look at that. And I'm like, hey, man, it's just, all it is just bug flying. You know, it's all it is, man. You know, and it's like, oh, is that what that is?
One of the funniest things. One of the funniest things I remember is there for a long time that you can look, you might be able to find it on some of the message boards. It may be archived, but a common photo anomaly that people used to report with paranormal activity around it was a vortex, or they would say they're vortices. You remember those where they'd have like the little tornado shape things, you know, of light. And you know, especially back in the late 90s, and people were catching them a lot with those little mini 410 cameras. And you know, that you know, those cameras, you know, I'm kind of telling my age here, you know, for anybody that's watching that's
watch out, man. We're close to the same age.
Yeah,
I was like, me and you, man, we're close to the same age, man. Do what?
Yeah, that's true. Like, you know, you consider this recorder here, you know, 410 cameras were close to about this size, you know, it had a little film that would pop in the back and, you know, you could take it and it'd have your little thing there.
Right.
Well, the thing about the 410 cameras, people would take those on investigations, and, you know, over on the edge, it would have, you know, like a little square that was about, you know, an inch long with the flash. Right. Well, people would carry these around and, you know, they'd take their pictures, they'd get all excited. Well, you know, they'd get their pictures back and it would have like this weird looking circular or semicircle light streak across the photo. And man, it was grandma coming to visit, or, you know, it was something that appeared right where they heard those random footsteps when, you know, eventually enough people put it together that it was actually the wrist strap that was hanging down from the camera, because when they started taking those off, the vortices started not showing up in pictures anymore.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about, because a lot of people, like you just mentioned, like the camera strap be around their hand and they're doing this. Well, sometimes that strap would be like right around here, not in focus. You know, and oh my, and they don't even stop and take a minute to try to figure it out. You know, they're just, it's oh, it's gotta be a ghost, dude. No doubt in my mind. And they're like,
Yep.
no, you probably had.
Well, I mean, it could be possible if they believe in reincarnation, and Grandma was reincarnated as a camera wrist strap.
Very true. Yeah, I have dealt with that for a very long time, man. But you know, it is what it is. You kind of, it's funny where we can sit back and laugh about it, you know, and kind of, you know, that's pretty cool. So, okay, well, man, I think time is up, and man, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, dude. I mean, this
Anytime. I appreciate you having me.
Man, I enjoyed it, dude. Really, man. I mean, I enjoyed every bit of it. And it is kind of cool because I wanted someone cool for my very first one, and I wasn't for sure how it was going to go or whatever. And I was nervous as you just have to ask Sarah. I mean, you can, because I was like all day long, I was kind of like, man, I just don't want to bomb it. And then I was like, then a month ago, I was like, I was like, let me just have Frank on. And I said, let me just get Frank on because I know how we are on social media together. And I thought, man, I really know I can relate to this guy. So I was like, he's got about the twisted sense of humor that I got. So it's kind of like, the both of us can, and I'll be more relaxed talking to somebody kind of like with my sense of humor. But this went great, dude. I mean, it really did. And thank you so much for coming on, man.
Hey, I appreciate you having me. I had a blast. I always enjoy, talking about paranormal, especially when I can make fun of things in the process.
Right.
That always makes it even better.
Right.
So,
Well, dude, we've got to do this again, man. Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just hit me up anytime. I'll be glad to come back.
Okay, man. Much appreciated, man. And you take care, buddy.
All right. Have a great one.
All right. You too, man.
All right.